we are getting very close to a bottom in the market. First of all, the call flow was above the put flow for like the first time in I don't even know how long it's been. It's been very long since we've seen this happen here. This is for over $500,000 worth of premium orders. So this, first of all, is a very good sign. I'll go through a lot of the flow in the video today as well. And then also, we actually can see a very large uptick in volume. This candle on Friday is pretty bullish in itself. Does that mean it's going to be the low exactly? No, I'll explain that in the video as well. However, typically when we see a lot of volume pops in the past, it has made a significant low for the next couple weeks or so. So I do want to go over that as well. So make sure to watch through the video, subscribe if you haven't, and we'll get started right away. So finally, we're starting to see signs of a bottom in terms of the flow. I remember if you've been watching these weekly recap videos since like March at this point, we've seen majority put flow almost always in the market, and if it's been pretty close together, typically they were closing calls. So right now I'm going to show you some orders that are very interesting to me. First of all, this one here, the two of them, 380 strikes for this 624 expiration. Now this expiration is very close, so this isn't like they're bullish for between now and July or now and August. However, we typically don't see ones like this, over 2 million in premium for a far out of the money strike plus a close expiration. So these are the types of orders we see before a big reversal occurs. So they were maybe thinking we may see a reversal over the long weekend or right after the long weekend finishes. So I like to see these personally. They did get this at 366 and 367 on Friday, and it seems we closed around that range in terms of SPX and SPY, just a little bit under. But one of the things that I did want to talk about as well with that is this big uptick in volume. So I said that in the intro of the video here, and basically if you go back to a lot of significant lows like the one here this was when they announced the Ukraine and Russia war kind of like becoming official, we saw an uptick in volume right here. This was a meaningful low for a long time, literally all the way, this was February 24th, it was the low all the way until beginning of May where this low was broken. So you can see here, big uptick, another big uptick on our way up. This was from OPEX actually. And then also you can see as we've gone down just continuously, this volume uptick has kind of promoted a form of a reversal. So you can see here we've been going up for quite a while in terms of volume on our way down. And then obviously quad witching is always going to have extra volume. So that's why we saw a major volume bar here. However, I do believe we are getting close to this bottom in terms of technicals and on the flow side. So this volume bar is very bullish. Typically on an individual stock, when you see a volume bar like this, for a doji candle after selling off for a very long time, that is a very bullish sign, and typically that would be a major reversal that you get off of that. However, SPY trades differently. So SPY and XPX, the S&P 500, they trade a bit different than individual stocks, and the only way that you can understand this is with experience trading them. So the more that you look at them, the more that you trade them along the years, you get a better sense on how it actually trades for itself. But volume isn't as important in terms of a day on quad witching, because automatically if you look back at all the OPEXs we've had, like the one over here for March 18th, these dates tend to be higher volume days, and it doesn't have to be a reversal. So this is a good sign that we've seen an uptick in terms of volume as we've been going down, and then we had a big day on the OPEX day for quad witching on Friday. However, does it mean it's going to be the exact low? No, but it's giving us a good clue that we're getting near to that low. So I would like to see a low between roughly 3,500 and where we are right now. Now, is that a big range? Yes, we closed at 3,674, so yeah, that is a pretty big range, 175 points almost. But in terms of this week, we could see a potential sell-off early on during this week, and then we get that bottom just because of this volume and what we've been seeing. So I'm going to be playing, especially in a longer-term portfolio that I have, I'm going to be starting to accumulate a lot of shares on some of these bigger names and tickers, as well as the S&P 500. Now, I'm not holding this for a true long-term hold like a year or over a year. I actually believe we'll make much more lower lows in the future. However, in terms of the summer, I think most of the damage has been done. So in terms of the chart, which I showed you right here, between 3,500 and where we are right now, I think we will get some form of low pretty soon, like within this week or next week. Also, call flow starting to get an uptick, like I said. If you go down here, you could see even more 630 strike or 630 expiration for this 385 call. That's pretty far out of the money. 1.1 million in premium. You can see here 360 strike. This is in the money from where we were here. However, 1.6 million in premium for these July strike. And you can see consistently, like, we had not seen that much green prior to this day in the market. So very interesting to start seeing some of these orders like this. 1.0 million for a 394 strike. This is pretty far out of the money for that 715 expiration. So we're seeing a lot of people starting to actually go long on this instead of looking at a ton of puts. And also another thing with that, the puts we've been seeing, like a ton of them above the ask, super far out of the money and everything, haven't really been as prevalent. So these 350 strike puts are still definitely significant. However, we're not seeing the ones that I'd shown you in previous weekly recaps where they were highlighted. Remember, Cheddarflow automatically highlights the super unusual ones, kind of like the ones here for calls. But we haven't seen any of those in terms of Fridays, so that's very interesting because they're not as super aggressive on the downside, which is another indicator we may be bottoming very soon. So just looking through all these 375s strike for these 729s, I like orders like this. It gives us over a month in terms of expiration, so they're bullish within the next month or so, and just consistently a lot of call flow, so very good to see in terms of a bull side. Now, a lot of people think because of Friday, which I shared with you before in terms of the volume and everything and the doji candle, that we're going to get a reversal right off of this. Is that possible? By all means, yes. However, I don't think we are completely done yet. Typically, when a lot of people believe that we're kind of close to that bottom, we're going to squeeze straight off of it. It tends to do at least one more downside where it takes out the prior lows that we had before. That's just kind of how the market dynamics have worked, especially in the past year. So I would not be surprised to see us take out this low one more time and give me that range between 3,500 and where we are now. I will be kind of looking for a very good within the next month, 2 months, or even 3 months position in terms of like trying to catch the low on this. So I will start to actually unload a lot of funds into this. I've only been trading back and forth, as I've shared with you guys, between kind of these ranges for the big moves in the past. However, I'm getting very close to start unloading a lot more into a position size around this range, and that's when you know I'm starting to get a bit more serious here. I've been able to trade in my swing account all the way throughout this chop so far, being very patient for these setups to emerge. I'm not trading every single day, waiting for the big moves to happen, as I've shared in the Discord. However, right now I'm starting to get antsy to actually start unloading that larger term position going forward here. So that's another thing too. That's pretty rare that I start doing this, so I am seeing an opportunity coming up here. However, we need to be patient as always. Some people are starting to try and think this is the bottom right now. However, I don't think that is quite yet. If we were to gap up and actually make a move back above this line that I have here, this prior resistance of a trend line, well, actually, it was a prior support before you could see it landed here and over here. Right now, it will act as a resistance. If we can get above this, and especially have 2 daily closes above this level, which right now it's about 3,750, that would be very bullish. And I actually think if we get above here and volume follows, that would be the low, at least a meaningful low for the next month or so, where we made the low from prior. So it would be like 3,640 roughly. But it would need to get above this in order for that to happen. Otherwise, I still believe we will make a lower low around like 3,500 or mid 3,500. So just wanted to share with you guys that. Also, another thing I really want to watch for is dark pools. We saw a ton of dark pool prints in terms of tech on SPY on Friday, and partially that is due to the fact we had quad witching. So previously in March for quad witching, we saw a lot of these prints as well on big names like Apple, Nvidia, and all of those. And I did post that on Twitter back then. But we saw a very similar thing right here. So if I actually go over to Apple, and we can see that there was massive prints. We had a singular print for 1.9 billion in premium. That is very, very large. And then also an accumulation of prints, 18 of them to be exact, for also 1.9 billion in premium. So part of this is the fact that we had quad witching, so there is a lot of rebalancing. So you'll see a lot of the dark pools get very active. But also look at on the mini chart we have right here, where they got these shares, 130.04. This was a meaningful low of the day. It kind of seems like, in my opinion, that they are starting to accumulate shares around this level for a potential pop back, and they used quad witching as kind of, I don't want to say excuse, but a good day to start building those positions back because people are expecting larger orders. Does that have to be the case? No, but that's part of my hypothesis right now. Also, if we look at other tickers, you go to Nvidia, it's going to be the same thing all across the board, 600 million and 400 million here for these prints. And if you look through any of these, Microsoft, it'll be the same thing, 1.7 billion for this 244 level, and all of them are near the low of that day. So very interesting to see that. Definitely keep a lot of these levels on watch. You could check out the dark pool levels feature here on the application if you want to look for yourself at any of these tickers. But I have marked these on my charts personally, and again, that's another reason why I think we're getting close to a bottom. However, don't be super antsy and get right into this right away, because we could still make a lower low. I would not be surprised to see one more fake out to the downside. That's kind of how the market's been working lately. And I shared in the last weekly recap, this day right here, the Ukraine war started, or they officially declared the Ukraine war against Russia, and a lot of people were super short. We gapped down big time, but it got picked up and squeezed a ton of people out of that. So people may have thought that this demand level up here previously for February 23rd was kind of like near the bottom. However, it made one more low that final day here and it popped right up above it. So caught a lot of people off guard and they had to liquidate their positions. So I would expect something similar in that regard after that, and then we'd be fine. Otherwise, I'm really interested to see how this week works out. A lot of flow in terms of bullishness, especially on SPY. However, there still are puts, as you can see here, for stuff like IWM. This ticker has been very bearish in the past, and especially going into right now, this is one of the weakest indexes so far. So do be careful of ones like those, but very interested to see what happens this week. I will be in the Discord answering questions and kind of like doing my own thing as we typically do. You can click the link below if you want to join that, but otherwise, I'll see you guys in the midweek video later this week.